Bun găsit la un nou interviu în studioul Agora. Eu sunt Laura Macari, iar astăzi vom discuta despre procesul de integrare europeană și despre pașii pe care trebuie să-i parcurgă Republica Moldova pentru a atinge acest obiectiv. Invitata mea de astăzi este Drita Abdiu-Halili, fostă secretară de stat pe afaceri europene și negociatoare șefă adjunctă pentru UE în Guvernul Macedoniei de Nord. În prezent se numără printre consilierii Biroului pentru Integrare Europeană de la Chișinău. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening and thank you for the invitation.
We know that you have come to Chișinău with valuable tips on Moldova's European integration process, some of which were discussed today at the Moldovan European Integration Forum. How prepared is our country to join the EU?
Thank you for your question. I would start with congratulating the people of Moldova for the start of the accession negotiations. That's a big achievement. And also I would use the opportunity here to thank the organizers for the very good forum we had today, where meaningful discussions were led with different stakeholders. How prepared is Moldova shows also the country report published by the European Commission. And the preparedness actually will happen as the process moves on further. Of course, Moldova has done a tremendous work showing that they are committed to walk this path fast and to be part of the EU once they align all the legislation and fulfill all the requirements. So far, what I can say is that the political level as well as the administration are fully committed to do the work that it takes to be part of the EU.
Moldova has already obtained candidate country status in 2022, and the accession negotiations were officially opened this year. What stage are we at now in this process?
First of all, I would like to explain that actually that's a great success. From obtaining a candidate status to starting the negotiations, it was less than a year. And that's a success on its own. Of course, we take in consideration the overall geopolitical situation, but this is a great success. Regarding the stage where Moldova is now, it's in the first step, or the so-called screening process, which has two parts, the explanatory screening and the bilateral screening. At the moment, Moldova is going through the bilateral screening, where the Moldovan institutions present the legislation, the institutions, and the capacities of the country in front of the European Commission, which then later will prepare a screening report to identify the gaps and what needs to be fulfilled as a next step. From my experience in the couple of months, I can say that I have seen dedicated teams in the administration that are doing a tremendous work in preparing those presentations. The screening process itself has a couple of, how can I say, parts where you present the state of play of the country, you identify how much you are aligned with the EU acquis, and what are the next steps that you need to do as a country in order to achieve full alignment. So you are in this stage at the moment, and the next steps would be, because with the new methodology, the negotiation of chapters is grouped into clusters. The cluster 1 screening just finished, cluster 2 has begun, so there are 6 clusters, and most probably during the next spring, the Commission will prepare the screening report to what will then Moldova will have to answer with 2 roadmaps, rule of law, roadmap for rule of law, and roadmap for public administration reform as opening benchmarks for cluster 1, and hopefully in spring you will be able to open cluster 1.
What does the implementation of the EU acquis communautaire mean?
Alignment and implementation of the EU acquis in practical terms means that the EU acquis is a really big acquis and legislation of over 10,000 pieces of legislation. And then this is, when you negotiate, this is divided into chapters. And the EU acquis means aligning from laws that are dealing with rule of law to laws that are dealing with food safety. So everything that is foreseen in the legislation, the negotiating country is putting it into their own legislation. So in practical terms, this is what alignment means. And then, of course, ensuring that there will be institutions and human capacities then to implement this. So when you asked at the beginning how prepared Moldova is, this is the process that is preparing every country step by step to achieve the end goal to become an EU member state.
Why are these steps important?
The steps are important because, first of all, the rules are made in the Union, and every decision is made with unanimity. So it is important because you have to achieve level of being fully aligned if you want to be part of the Union or of the club, if we simplify it. It is important because it will transform the country and the society on this path. So improvement of functioning of institutions, of laws, respect in different aspects, be it in the environment. So these rules are carefully crafted, and this is actually the process of negotiations. You have to align, accept the acquis, implement, and when you reach that point, you become a member.
From your analysis, what topics or domains are still problematic in our country? In what areas do we have the most work to do?
Honestly, it would be hard to specify what areas are most difficult or hard or challenging. Because as I explained, all chapters cover different topics, from justice, food safety, environment, competition, protecting data protection. So there are different topics, and the challenge, actually, the general challenge is to have the capacities to do the work. And as I said, so far, from what I have seen, Moldova is doing a great work. And of course, there will be challenges on the path. It's not easy, but it's definitely not doable. So this is something that the country applied for, has the commitment to do it, and will for sure will achieve it.
How would you assess the state of democracy and the respect for human rights in Moldova?
Of course, I'm not an expert on those topics, nor I have the instruments to measure this, but I would say that, of course, obtaining the candidate status, starting the negotiations, Moldova fulfills those standards, and those standards should never be taken for granted. You should always work on improving them. The latest referendum showed that people of Moldova are decided that they want to be part of EU. So I think that this also shows that the democracy level of Moldova.
What's next for Moldova's EU integration process?
I tried to explain a bit earlier. While the screening process is ongoing for all chapters and clusters, in the meantime, for Cluster 1, the Commission, so this is the big next step, the Commission will prepare a report for Cluster 1, which is fundamentals, and according to the new methodology, the cluster fundamentals will be the first to open and the last to close, because here you have those chapters that are dealing with justice, security, public procurement, statistics, and the big step is that hopefully in spring, Cluster 1 will be opened, and this is here the negotiation process will officially kick off. And of course, once the screening process is over, the Commission will have reports for every cluster, put benchmarks or interim benchmarks according to which Moldova will answer to those benchmarks and open the clusters one by one. Once this whole process is finished and the preparedness is in the level which is necessary, then of course the continuation of the process is signing the treaty, which should be ratified, and hopefully that will happen within a couple of years.
The majority of our citizens have said they want the country to join the EU. They confirmed it in this year's referendum, but everyone is wondering, when is it going to happen? What do you think?
The process is merit-based and also is a matter of consensus by all member states. So you have to do the process. Of course, the citizen made the greatest decision. They showed that they want to be part of the EU. But I would like to explain that the process itself, it's tremendous work until you become a full member. So you need to align the acquis, build institutions, build capacities, and all this takes a little bit of time. Unfortunately, EU never gives an accession date to anyone, and the Western Balkans are of course, an example of that, because, as I said, it's a unanimous decision of all member states. Moldova will be part of the EU when they will be ready, hopefully, and the government has committed to really do the work and finish the work by 2028 and become a member by 2030. And also, EU has declared that they would be ready to enlarge by 2030. So I think this window of opportunity should be used, but not only, this is not only the work of the government, it's also of the media, of the civil society, of the whole society to give their contribution for the country to move forward.
What factors does this deadline depend on?
As I said, the decision itself is a unanimous decision by all member states, and you have to go through the process. So negotiate every chapter, open clusters, close chapters, close clusters. So this would probably take a couple of years. I cannot put an exact date, but the main factor is the pace with which the administration is moving with fulfilling this requirement. And of course, a very important element is a strong political will, which at the moment Moldova has, and it has to maintain it, because it takes also a strong political will and leadership to move things forward.
What do you think? Why is European integration the best option for Moldova?
First of all, I think for all the countries that applied and want to become members, European Union is the best options because we have examples from your neighbors, and not only your neighbors, from other states that had transformed once they became a member or on the path of becoming a member. I will tell you an example. We were part of one country with Croatia, and now they're celebrating 10 years of their membership. So why it's the best place to be? It's because it's evident that this will transform the society, make the economy stronger and resilient, and being part of a union with all the states, it's a guarantee not only of the security, but also for economic development.
Well, we know that North Macedonia also wants to join the EU, but this process has been going on for several years. Based on your experience on these negotiations, what advice would you give the authorities in Chisinau, and what mistakes should be avoided?
Of course, North Macedonia has been very long in this process. Unfortunately, there were some bilateral issues from member states that were raised as issues regarding North Macedonia, but I would have to say that also internally, maybe we were lacking consensus to move forward. But I wouldn't take only North Macedonia as an example. Most of the Western Balkans countries are moving a little bit slower. As I said, from obtaining a candidate status to opening negotiations for Moldova was then less than a year. And when I said you are lucky, just as an example, it's been over 8 years for Albania, over around 17 years for North Macedonia, couple of years for Serbia, Montenegro. I don't know if I can give a precise advice, how can you avoid mistakes? But what I can say is that the Moldovan authorities should maintain relationship with all member states, and that would be the first one, but also the Moldovan society should recognize that this momentum, it's a one-time window of opportunity. And this is because of the new geopolitical environment which steered also things in the Union. And this will and energy and the commitment of the new Commission, it's an opportunity that should be wisely used.
Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you very much.